Hi guys, it's Alexandra here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to sit down and share with you guys a book unhaul. So I have seen several booktubers doing the book unhaul challenge, and they inspired me to take a look at my shelves and see if there were any books that I was ready to part with. I am not going to be doing specifically the book unhaul challenge, but I do have 20 books that I'm getting rid of today that I would like to share with you guys. So let's get into this. So I have kind of three different piles here. One pile is for books that I have started to read maybe 2 or 3 times but have never finished, and I'm finally ready to just say, you know what, these must not be for me right now, and so I'm going to get rid of them. The other pile is for books that I have read and I may have liked or not liked, and I'm just ready to part with them. And then the third pile is for books that I have purchased or brought into my collection through free book sales that I have just never picked up. And I realize that I am probably not going to pick them up in the foreseeable future, so somebody else should really get their hands on them and love them. So those are the 3 piles. And also to give you a frame of reference for my mindset as I was going through my shelves, I kind of had 3 questions that were guiding me. The first one is, if I've read this book, could I ever see myself picking it up and rereading it again? The second question was, if I haven't read this book, do I have plans to read this in the foreseeable future? And the third one was, does this book bring me joy and happiness? And that kind of helped me pick through my collection and see what I actually wanted to keep. So let's get into the first pile. The first pile I want to go through are books that I have picked up, started to read maybe 1, 2, 3 times, and have just never actually gotten around to finishing these books. The first one is Catcher in the Rye. So this is obviously a classic, and I definitely have read parts of this book both in school and on my own, but it's just not a book that right now I can foresee myself picking up and reading. The second is Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. Now, I love To Kill a Mockingbird. It is absolutely one of my favorite classics. And I got this a few years ago right when it came out, and I tried to read it, and it just wasn't making me feel the same way that To Kill a Mockingbird was. So for now, I'm just going to let this go, and I figure if in the future I have a desire to pick this up and read it, I can just go get a cheap copy of it or even borrow it from my local library. This next one, some of you are going to go, oh my gosh, girl, you are so crazy. This book is fantastic. And I know how many of you love it, but for me, it hasn't been something that I've been drawn to. And that is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So last summer, I stumbled upon BookTube and I started watching bookish videos for the very first time. And so many people were talking about this duology, and I felt like I just needed to have it in my collection. I wasn't necessarily drawn to this story at first, but I went out and I bought this one and I started reading it, and I probably got about 50 to 100 pages into it, and I just put it down and I never picked it back up. So for me, that shows me that this is just not something that at the current moment I'm really interested in reading. The next one is Maze Runner by James Dashner. Again, I have tried to read this book 2 or 3 times. I just can't get into it. I don't love this writing style. It was really confusing. I couldn't get into the story. I have watched the movies and I have enjoyed the movies, but I have not loved my experience of trying to read this first book. The last one in this category is Video Kill by Joanne Fluke. And now, for those of you who've watched many of my videos, you know how much I love this author's cozy mystery series. This is not a cozy mystery. This is more of a traditional like suspense thriller mystery, and it is very creepy, and I think that's part of the reason that I don't love it as much and have had a hard time getting into it and have not been able to finish it. I love cozy mysteries or more lighthearted mysteries. This kind of thing is not so much my gig, but I know somebody else will really love it, and she is a fantastic author. I mean, she's doing her job brilliantly with this novel. I just don't love to be scared that much. Now on to the second pile. So this pile, these are books that I have fully read and I either liked but I'm ready to get rid of, or maybe didn't love and just I don't feel the need to keep them in my collection. So the first one is All About Passion by Stephanie Lawrence. This is a romance novel, and I enjoy romance novels. This is just not my kind of romance novel. Last summer, I picked up about 5 or 6 of these kinds of romance novels from a free book night at my university, and I thought that I'd give them a try. And this is the only one that I have read, and it took me a long time to get through it because I didn't love this type of romance. I'm more of a Nicholas Sparks kind of gal, and this is definitely not that, but somebody else will love it. The second one in this pile is Lock and Key by Sarah Dessen. I actually really enjoyed this book, but I read it in high school and I have not picked it up again since then, and so I think I'm just ready to part ways with this book. The next couple are kind of geeky obsession kind of books for me. The first is Beautiful Chaos by Gary Russell. It is a Doctor Who story. I did really enjoy this. I just don't feel myself in the mood to pick it up again anytime soon, so I figure I'll let it go and somebody else can enjoy this. By the way, he is my favorite Doctor. And then I have 2 Star Trek books. I have The Wrath of Khan and then Triangle, and these were both interesting. I enjoyed them both. I just don't foresee myself picking them up again in the future, so somebody else can love them. The next one is Matched by Ali Kandi. Now, I have heard so-so things about the second and third books in this series, but I actually really enjoyed this first one, but I have not been drawn to pick up the second and third ones. So I figure for now I can just let this go, and if I want to read the other 2 in the future, I can just pick them up from my local library. No need to bog down my shelf with a book that I'm probably not going to reread and might not even continue on with the trilogy. The last one in this category is Les Mis by Victor Hugo. This is a giant book, and yes, I have read it. So a few years ago when the movie musical came out in theaters around Christmas time, I went to go see that and I fell in love with this story. I then fell in love with the musical itself. I got to see it in a traveling professional production, and I picked up this book and I read it and I enjoyed it. Is it slightly confusing at times? Yes, but I am proud of myself for finishing it, and I think that I know myself and I know that I'm not going to pick this up again, and so somebody else deserves to fall in love with this story the way that I did. So I'm going to pass that along. Alright, so time for the third pile. This pile is full of books that I have purchased but have never picked up off of my shelves. The first one is O Pioneers by Willa Cather. This is a book that I got about 3 years ago, and I had every intention of reading it, and I have kind of picked it up off of my shelf and then put it back on my shelf several times. I just don't see myself reading it. I feel like somebody else will love it much more than I will. This next one is also going to get some of you going. It is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Again, about a year ago when I started watching BookTube for the very first time, I saw so many people talking about this series and her other books, and I felt like I just needed to have this series and that I needed to read it, and I got this from a used bookstore, and it has sat on my shelf for a year. I figure if in 1 year's time I have not even contemplated picking this book up, for real. I mean, I've put it on some like TBRs and stuff, but then I always change my mind about it and I never actually pick it up. And so I figure I'm not going to pick this up. Somebody else can love this and read this and enjoy this series, but right now I'm not in the mindset to read it, and I figure if someday I am, I can always pick them up from my local library. I feel like I said that a million times, but it's so true. Why not borrow it if you're not sure that you're going to love it? This next book is It by Stephen King. Again, a giant book. And I got this in October, or right around when the remake of the movie came out. And I don't know, I had heard a friend talk about it. She'd read the book, she enjoyed it. I thought maybe I would read it and see if I enjoyed it, and I picked it up. and I have not touched it since. And in all reality, I should have known that that was going to happen. This is not my kind of book. And I think I wanted to just read it because there was so much hype around the movie, but I'm never going to read it. I'm really not. So hopefully somebody else will enjoy this and get some use out of it. And then these last ones are all romance novels that I picked up in the same free book sale that I got the All About Passion book. And there's only one of these that I've actually considered reading, and that was Nightingale Way by Emily March. So this is one that I'm choosing to get rid of it, but I may end up borrowing it from my library in the future. The next one is The Forest Lord by Susan Crenard. Again, this is a romance novel. It's just not my kind of romance, I've come to realize. Again, I'm much more of a Nicholas Sparks girl than this kind of romance. I also have Bridegroom by Linda Lael Miller. I have Wildcat by Rochelle Wayne. And then I have Night of the Wolf by Elaine Barbary. And I just don't see myself picking up any of those anytime soon, if at all. So I figure let them go, and somebody who loves that kind of romance will be ecstatic to find that on the shelves. So that is it for my book Unhaul. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye!